All right, everybody. Alex Dorr here from Washington Gun Rights. I want to break down for you what just happened here in Olympia just moments ago. As you know, if you've been watching our Facebook page or getting our emails, today was the big day in the Senate Judiciary and Law and Judiciary Committee, where they had the public testimony on HB 1163. This bill is nasty. This bill is tyranny. This bill is a gutting and the total destruction of the Second Amendment here in Washington State. It is despicable. Let me break down for you what the bill does and what happened here this morning. This bill is going to require that law-abiding Washingtonians go out and get a permit to purchase a firearm. You're going to have to go and submit to a background check. You're going to have to submit to mandatory training. You're going to have to pass mandated requirement standards, which they haven't really disclosed what those are yet. You're going to have to wait 10 days in order to get your permit to purchase. And then and only then, when you have jumped through enough hoops, you've kissed enough backsides of the politicians in Washington, will you then be allowed to exercise your Second Amendment rights? This is total tyranny. And not only that, but this doesn't even stand up to judicial scrutiny post-Bruin. This bill is the mega bill that Bob Ferguson wants to pass in his first year as the governor of Washington. He wants to take an absolute sledgehammer to our Second Amendment rights, and he has got the House to pass this bill, and now the Senate is trying to work through this committee process. Guys, I was there this morning. I was there early. There were a lot of patriots that actually beat me here, but then we just got mobbed. The radical left sent out all their crying commie mommies, all their beta male whipped guys in their orange and red shirts to come and testify in this need for common sense gun control to save our kids. Total hogwash. They're talking the radical left's points, the points that Joe Biden used to speak, that Kamala Harris campaigned on, that this country overwhelmingly rejected. They're still trying to spew in this committee here and over there. But guys, here's the greatest insult to this bill. They barred Washington gun rights from testifying in this committee this morning. This is not the first time. They continue to not allow us to testify in this public hearing, instead giving lengthy time and all the time slots to the radical left and their deranged lunatics and their talking points. The reason they won't let Washington gun rights testify in this committee is they know what would happen. We represent hundreds of thousands of gun owners across this state, the best citizens in this state. We are here to represent what you want them to know. Absolutely not. Hell no. We're not compromising. Don't tread on us. We're going to mass non-compliance on this garbage, as we have been, right? But the Democrats in leadership know that if we were allowed to say that to their colleagues, to their caucus, the vulnerable Democrats in that committee and in the Senate would suddenly become very afraid of their 2026 reelections. All right, there are a lot of weak Democrats. Don't make no mistake, the House here in Washington is rampant with radical leftists. But the Senate, they do not have those margins. They don't have those massive majorities. And there are certainly vulnerable, weak Democrats in the Senate who are afraid of their next reelection. And if hundreds of thousands of gun owners were given a voice in this public hearing by letting us speak, they would then know just how bad it's going to be for them in 2026. Make no mistake, we will be holding every one of these politicians responsible at election time. We will not forget this vote. We will not forgive this vote. And we are going to publicly expose every one of them at their next reelection. We're going to do it with digital ads as best we can, because the state of Washington has barred them to the best of their abilities. We're going to text in districts. We're going to send out direct mail. We are going to expose the radical leftists and their plans to destroy the Second Amendment. That's what we represent, and that's what these tyrants would not let us say. We did have some great people in there, like Dan Mitchell, who was throwing down on them so hard. It was awesome to hear. You know, he said, call me plaintiff number one, because if you pass this garbage, I'm going to sue you. You can bank on it. And we wholeheartedly endorse that sentiment, and we'll be right alongside you, Dan, as always, as plaintiff two. Actually, somebody else claimed plaintiff two. I guess we'll have to be plaintiff three. But we're going to have to challenge this. So, guys, that's the recap. This bill is done in public hearing. Later on this week, this committee is going to have, what do they call that? They call it... I'm having a brain freeze here. executive session. And this committee then is going to make their vote. See, they don't have the balls to make that vote in front of the public. They don't have the guts or the courage or the stamina to stand there in front of the public and vote on this. No, they have to close the doors and do this vote when nobody else is watching. Now, when they have thousands of people lined up watching this, streaming this vote, or the hundreds that have signed up to testify that they completely barred from being allowed to testify. By the way, they threw out a number at the end there that you patriots out there signed enough petitions. They had 800 people that said, yes, they want this bill. And they had over 8,000 gun owners in Washington who said, absolutely not, this bill is garbage and it's a nasty attack on our Second Amendment. 8,000 to 800. But yet this committee is still going to sit there behind closed doors and think that this is what needs to be done. Again, it's disgusting and it's appalling. Washington gun rights is on the ground. We are fighting for you. We're going to continue to expose them. We're going to be here to tell them we're not going to take it laying down. I've seen a lot of comments this morning about people just whining and crying on social media and do something about it. You know, if we're not here telling them hell no and looking them in the eye, they're going to continue to pass this garbage. And if we don't continue to stand up and be here and tell them no, they're going to continue to bring these bills forward. So we're going to be here. We're going to continue to oppose it. We're glad to do it. It's our honor to stand here. But guys, we want you standing with us. We want you guys as members and supporters so that way we can represent you and you can know exactly what we're doing down here. So if you're not a member, go to joinwgr.com right now. Become a member. It's cheap. It's easy. It's less than a cup of coffee per day for the month. That covers you for the year. So become a member with us. We're going to fight back. We're going to continue to follow this process. The bill is not passed. It's not out of committee yet. That means we have at least 3 days to hammer them with emails, to hammer this committee with emails and tell them to vote no. And who knows, maybe Bob Ferguson decides, you know what, this is probably not the best way I want to start my first year in office because the repercussions for the caucus in 2026 when the other half of the Senate comes up may not survive. You know, something else that's disgusting is it's just something about the Attorney Generals in the state of Washington. But the Attorney General himself showed up here today. The replacement of Bobby Ferguson. He showed up, and this is his first time ever testifying as Attorney General on a piece of legislation. And he was here in full support of this legislation to strip and gut and destroy our Second Amendment. You know, there was a senator that asked him a great question. He's like, hold on. This permit to purchase, the background checks, the fingerprinting, everything else, that's stuff that you already have to do at point of sale. And you have to go through a background check every time you buy or sell a gun in the state of Washington. All right, we already have to do that. We already have to run them through NICS, which is also unconstitutional. We have all this stuff that we have to do already. Is this not redundant to now require a permit to purchase? Why do you think this is somehow going to catch criminals that the rest of the process that we're already doing is not? And he had no answer. Then he asked the question, like, hold on, how many concealed carry permit holders commit crimes in the state of Washington? And the Attorney General, again, said, I don't have that information. You'll have to ask your staff to dig that up for you. The Attorney General knows exactly what the numbers are. 0. Law-abiding gun owners who have permits to carry are not the criminals. We are instead not allowing ourselves to be the victims to these criminals. And so to have an Attorney General here so smug and arrogant to come down here and lobby to destroy the Second Amendment is disgusting. But again, that office seems to breed disgusting. Guys, that's it for right now. We're going to send out that action link again. We'll put it on here on Facebook. We'll put it on X. We'll email out again. Hammer this committee right now. Email them again, because again, what's happening is the leadership is not letting us testify because they know that if the weak members of their caucus caught wind of just how furious gun owners are and how we're promising to remember come election time, re-election time, there are enough that we believe that would just say, call up Bobby and say, no, we don't want this bill. We can't stand this bill. We're not voting on it. Table this, get it out of here. We want nothing to do with it. So guys, we're going to ask you to hammer on that link. If anyone from the team from the office could throw that link in the comments or put it in the top, I'd appreciate it. But we will have it back up here. We posted it earlier this morning about 7 a.m., so you can scroll back through Facebook. But, guys, now's also the time to get your friends and family involved. I know you can all think of at least 3 or 4 or 5 friends who, they're probably apolitical or they're not really aware of what's going on. They need to hear, their legislators, these senators need to hear from them as well. So take that link, send it to your friends, and tell them to get involved immediately. Dave, you said so much for free speech. Exactly. It's not free speech when they won't let you talk. But secondly, so much for a free Second Amendment, because now every Washingtonian will have to pay for a permit to exercise their right. It's funny as Hawaii had this bill, and that was just struck down in federal court as well. So absolutely, this is going to open them up to lawsuits. Washington gun rights will absolutely be front and center in the door, first ones to do it if this bill gets signed. But no, they're trying to put a fee and a license on a God-given, constitutionally codified right of self-defense to own a firearm. It's ridiculous. I don't have a permit. I didn't pay for a permit to express my free speech here on the street. I don't have to buy a permit to make sure that they have warrants if they want to search me or my property. I don't have a permit to make sure that I get a jury of my peers. Absolutely not. To put a permit on the Second Amendment is total hogwash. And once they've given that process over to the state, then it's up to them that they can re-regulate, redefine, just like the ATF, on who qualifies for a permit. This is how they're going to end all purchases of all firearms in the state of Washington. They're coming, guys. We're fighting back. Become a member today. Join WGR.com. I'll have more for you guys as soon as we have it.